So Brendan Donovan, leading off. What do you think? Hits the home run, 3 for 6, 3 runs, couple of ribbies for Brendan Donovan. I really like him in the leadoff spot. Lars Nootbaar, I think especially against righties, you're probably going to see Newt batting second. You heard Ollie say that he looks at his lineup kind of interchangeable, the 2 spot and the 6 spot. I think you can see a lot of guys in there. Could be O'Neill versus a lefty. Could be Nootbaar versus righty. And we'll see how these guys all hit. Obviously, Paul Goldschmidt, you don't worry about him. So he's what? He's 2 for 4 with a ribby, a run, and a walk. Nolan Arenado, 2 for 5 with 3 driven in. Wilson Contreras, and that's obviously the big story. I haven't even gotten to that. I kind of buried the lead. The health of Wilson Contreras, I think, is the biggest storyline coming out of yesterday. Because, I mean, that's your $80+ million catcher. And the other thing there is it's about the drop-off positionally to your backup. Like, if you go around the position player group for the Cardinals, you guys tell me, what do you think? When you fall off from a lot of these positions, I mean, the Cardinals have a ton of outfield depth. So if somebody gets hurt, you have a Burleson on the bench. You have Dylan Carlson, remember, on the bench. You have Juan Yepes in AAA. You got somebody like, I mean, even Edmund can play some corner outfield. We know that Brendan Donovan can play all over the field. So if you have any injury anywhere in the infield, outfield, except I would say shortstop. Shortstop is the one, that's where, if there's an injury to a shortstop, you could see Mason Wynn coming up real quick, because I don't think the Cardinals want Taylor Motter to start every day. I don't think they want Brendan Donovan to start at shortstop every day, maybe every once in a while. But if there was an injury to Tommy Edman, I think that's the one time where, boom, quick, all of a sudden Mason Wynn is right back up in the big leagues. Well, back up because he was playing with the big league team in spring training and making his major league debut. You understand why they don't want him sitting on the bench in the big leagues. They want him playing every day at Memphis, but he absolutely proved that he belongs in the big leagues. But I kind of took a long way to get to the point that, so you got catcher and shortstop. I would even say shortstop, you're better suited because you have Mason Wynn at AAA. But if you're talking the catcher position, Andrew Knizner may have to play several games in a row now. We know it's a contusion for Wilson Contreras. He took a 103-mile-an-hour pitch off of that knee, off his shin guard, 103 from Jordan Hicks, so x-rays are negative. But still, if you have a really bad bruise, that could linger. I don't know how long it's going to linger. I mean, could it be, do you have to let it linger? Could that be a week? I don't know. I think it's going to be at least a couple games, I would think. I would think you're in a lot of pain, probably hard to bend that thing, and you're maybe limping around a little bit. So we're going to see Andrew Knizner at least once or twice, I would think. And that's the thing. Andrew Knizner right now is playing for his big league paycheck. Let's be real. We love Andrew Knizner. He's on our radio show once a week, Hot Take Central, 590 The Fan. But, man, he has to hit. And he had a really bad spring training offensively. So Andrew Knizner needs to turn it around. And I think when you saw what happened yesterday, what inning was that? Was it the 8th inning whenever they had Andrew Knizner bunt, which did not work out well? That also goes to show you kind of how they think about Andrew Knizner, because in that inning, you're bunting with a guy on second base who's already in scoring position, and you're go ahead and saying, I don't even trust you to try to get a single and drive that guy in, or even hit a ball to the right side. Try to get a hit, but if not, you can advance the runner. I'm trying to go through the 8th inning play-by-play here, right? So whenever that was, but you know what I'm talking about, when Andrew Knizner had to drop down the bunt, and it did not work out, and he did not execute, and that is no good. And by the way, I hate bunting also. I hate bunting in terms of sacrifice bunting. I like bunting for a hit, especially if you got some speed. I think that should be in your toolbox. But even more so in terms of sack bunting, especially with no more pitchers hitting. I hate when you sack bunt with a guy on second base and no outs, and the dude's already in scoring position. I just hate that move. And again, I think it speaks to their lack of confidence in Andrew Knizner offensively. Okay, let's get back to the comments. Did I cover enough offense for you guys? I'm very high on the Cardinals offense, not just because of yesterday. I said this all offseason long. I think too many people were worried about the Cardinals offense, and I think we didn't even realize. I think sometimes until you look at the numbers, you don't realize how good an offense is. The Cardinals were a top 3 National League offense last year. I know that in the playoffs, they didn't hit well, but you're also facing in 2 games, small sample size, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, and also the fact that in September, the offense came back to life, especially Paul Goldschmidt, who won the MVP. But I understand that you could focus on the playoffs, you could focus on September, but really the Cardinals were a top 3 offense in the National League last year, and I think they're going to be better just because health of a Carlson, of a O'Neill, Jordan Walker up, Wilson Contreras is a huge upgrade if he's good, if he's right, which obviously after the contusion on his knee, we're all hoping that he's good to go. Okay. Jonathan Miser, any thoughts on Bally's going bankrupt? Yeah, we've talked about that a lot also on the radio. So whenever we talk about that, I think a lot of people focus on, are we going to be able to watch the games? And I wouldn't worry about that. I think you're going to be able to watch all the games this year on Bally's. And even if something crazy happened, MLB or the Cardinals would figure out a way to get you the games. I'm not worried about that. What I'm actually worried about is if that already has, because I don't know if they would tell us and be honest with us if it actually has that already impacted how the Cardinals spend or didn't spend, right? I think a lot of people were surprised the Cardinals didn't do more after their big addition of Wilson Contreras. Now, John Mozeliak said it's because of the market got crazy. That could be true, but I just wonder, if you knew this bankruptcy was coming, and you know you may not get that rights fee from Bally's. I don't know how that works. But I'm guessing that at some point in the season, the Cardinals could potentially miss that TV rights fee. And if that's the case, and the Cardinals have 30% ownership, so the equity portion is different. That's just no value in terms of equity. But whatever that payment was supposed to be, once you miss that payment, I just wonder if that's going to impact the Cardinals, for example, not doing as much potentially at the trade deadline. And I wonder if that impacted the offseason. I don't know. And I don't know if the Cardinals would be 100% honest with us on that, because it's kind of an awkward situation when you own a portion of this business that is declaring bankruptcy. Woodage. Is it Woodage or Woodage? 84. Flaherty and Waino will be the main question marks of the season. I hope Montgomery can pick up where he left off last season. Yeah, I agree. I think right now, Flaherty, I was high on him in before spring training started. Now, let's see. You got to prove it, buddy. Adam Wainwright, you got to get healthy. Even when he was healthy, World Baseball Classic and in the Grapefruit League, he was not throwing hard. Now we know Adam Wainwright's not going to throw 95 anymore. Probably won't even throw 90, but I think that curveball plays better when you're featuring 88. So we'll see what happens there. He battles. I don't look at Waino. He doesn't have to be a number one. Waino could be their 5th best pitcher. As long as he can get healthy and be productive and go deep. I know you don't want your $17.5 million guy to be a number 5 type starter, but at this point in their career, I think all those other guys have better stuff than Adam Wainwright. Sam, I'm not worried about Helsley yet. Everyone has some bad games, and blowing one save is meh, but we will see. I agree with you. David Bowles, what was the first game you ever attended? Mine was in Sportsman's Park when Musial was still playing. That's cool. So, David Bowles, how old are you? My first game was definitely Tiger Stadium. I'm not going to lie, I can't remember exactly who they were playing. I mean, I went to a lot of Toledo Mud Hens games first. That's AAA of the Tigers. So I went to a ton of those games. But first big league game was definitely Tiger Stadium. I was an A's fan as a kid. I loved the Bash Brothers. So we would always go, whenever the Tigers played the A's, my mom and dad, we'd always make sure we went to at least one game. And I could try to see my guy, Jose Canseco. So that would have been, because Canseco left for the Rangers in when? Like 93? Was it 92, 3, 4? I can't remember exactly. So we probably were watching Tigers-A's games in like 1990, 1991. I'm guessing was my first Tigers game. I do remember seeing Nolan Ryan. I think I saw Nolan Ryan pitch for the Rangers against the Tigers. I believe that was the case. I don't have a good memory either, man. This is like 30 years ago. First game I attended was one in Ozzy's last season at Busch, 1 or 2, depending on your narrative. David Bowles, if Dakota could throw more strikes, how good he would be. Yeah, that's kind of the old question for Dakota Hudson, who's now in AAA. Anthony Jones. I'll be calling in Monday, Charlie. This is James. There you go, James. Call in, baby. We'd like to see you mix it up, respectively, with Jimmy the Cat Hayes. David Bowles. Even Toronto's manager called Springer's hits lawn darts. Yeah. And we've talked about this a bunch. We're now 44 minutes in. Springer had the one hard hit ball off Michaelis, had 5 hits, but lawn darts, just a bunch of dinks and dunks. And overall, also, the Blue Jays had a lot of that, especially against Jordan Hicks. Miles Michaelis, I thought, was a little more mixed. Had some hard hits, especially in the first inning. Leaving the 8th inning, Sam I am is mad at me for leaving the 8th inning. I'm sorry, man. I just could not sit. I could not sit in traffic for an hour and a half trying to leave Busch Stadium. Plus, I kind of like sometimes. What do you guys think? Sometimes it's good to get different perspectives of the game. You can be at the stadium. I was in the press box. You can be out with the people. You can watch on Bally's. You can get a radio broadcast feel. So I think watching the game from the press box, for the most part, a little bit in the stadium, and then driving home the last inning or two on radio, you get different perspectives of the game. And plus, I got home earlier. I'm sorry, I'm old. I'm 40 years old, man. I'm not going to sit in that traffic. Beefy. Plus, I wasn't drinking. I was working. In a different scenario, I would just go to patios and have a couple beers while the traffic dissipated, but I was not drinking yesterday, so I just want to get home. Take it easy on me. Beefy. What is your favorite Cardinals opening day tradition? Also, I was a little surprised Albert and or Yachty didn't make an appearance, but obviously they will be back for the Red Jackets. You know, I kind of think the Cardinals almost should have done something special for those guys. I feel like they should have gotten rid of the whole idea that you have to wait. I don't even know how many years it is. How many years do you have to wait to get the Red Jacket? Is it 5? Is it just like the Cooperstown deal? I don't know. But I think Yachty and Albert are a big enough deal. They should have waived that waiting period. Okay. Matt Holliday, good to see him down there in the Red Jacket. Anthony Jones, can we stop crediting Jordan Hicks for throwing 150 miles an hour when it never misses bats? LOL, you can't tell me I'm lying. Even Bernie has said this for a year. Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, he's never been a big strikeout guy. Even when he was throwing 106 miles an hour, he didn't have ridiculous strikeout numbers. I was just saying yesterday, yeah, he doesn't miss bats. 100%, I agree with you. But yesterday, he also was a victim of bad luck. Let's go ahead. My internet is kind of crappy today. What do you think? Are there going to be these storms coming? It was pretty windy at my house here earlier. All right, let's go to Jordan Hicks for his career. Jordan Hicks' career in the big leagues, 5 seasons, 178 and 2/3 innings, 175 strikeouts. So again, that's not bad. I'm not trying to hate on him. You're getting dang close to 1 strikeout per innings pitched, but I do think for a dude that was throwing 106, sometimes those are the type of guys that you see crazy little league strikeout numbers, like 1.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. So he strikes out a decent amount of guys. Anytime you're close to a strikeout per innings pitch, I think it's more of the fact with Hicks, we think, dude, you throw 106. How are you not having like old school Aroldis Chapman strikeout numbers? Okay, let's see here. Sam I am. 105 mile an hour fastball to the knee hurt me just watching. Yeah, talking about Wilson Contreras. The lineup, this is from Anthony. My guy, it's James, Anthony Jones, but he goes by James. The lineup is stacked. Let's see. The lineup is stacked, Charlie. It really is. And you know me, and you are saying that it's reality that pitching staff and catcher position after Wilson is horrible. Come on now. I'm not saying that. James, you and I have been on the same page all offseason. I said I wasn't worrying about the offense. You needed a catcher, they got a catcher. After that, I wasn't worried about the offense. I was worried about the pitching staff. I was before Waino got hurt. I still am. I'm also worried after yesterday, but that's not. Look, it's one game. I'm just saying, this starting rotation may not be very good. We shall see. Let's see. Taylor Motter, 184 career batting average in MLB, just horrible. Come on, James. James, you're so negative, man. Taylor Motter, look, we all know why he's on the team, because Paul DeJong is injured. Paul DeJong, not too great either, but he's got the contract. Taylor Motter, he's just your journeyman guy. I wouldn't have too high of expectations. Let's see. Sam, everyone keeps saying it's just one game. It's not even about the first game. And it's just like, man, we said this rotation and bullpen was concerning all offseason. We got lied to about payroll. That's a fair point. John Mozeliak said they were going to increase payroll and spend, and whatever they increase it by wasn't that much. Let's see. And already we are concerned. It's insane. That's from James. All right, David Bowles, the Bally thing. If it goes bad, would interrupt the Cardinals' revenue stream. If you look back to spring training interviews, DeWitt hinted a little bit about it. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. So I heard both Bill DeWitt Jr. and Sr. on with Bernie Miklasz this offseason, and they both said they were concerned. So to me, yeah, I'm not worried about not watching the games. They're going to figure that out. To me, it's about, is it affecting payroll? Did it already in the winter, and will it again potentially? Because I think they'll figure it out after this year. I would dang well hope. But could it affect the Cardinals potentially not taking on salary at the trade deadline? I think that's a very fair question. Hey guys, looks like we have 47 people watching. I appreciate that. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. We're about 49 minutes in. I'll go about another 10 minutes. I'll try to go an hour or to catch up with all your guys' questions. I believe I'm almost there. So let's see. All right, David Bowles. Yes, I am up there. Turning 70 this fall. How about that, David? Congratulations, man. So my mom will also be 70 this fall as well. 1953 birth year. My grandfather, father, and me are hardcore fans. Pass it along to my two boys and their boys. 5 generations of Cardinal fans. That's pretty dang cool, David. Greg Jansen. 5-year wait after career is over for the red jacket for the Cardinals. Okay, I figured that was it. I feel like for Yachty and Albert, I think you could have been cool and maybe changed it up for them, almost like the Wayne Gretzky thing, but I get it. It's all good. And you know what? The Cardinals are already selling bobbleheads and whatnot still off Yachty and Albert right now. There's a bobblehead, I think it's tomorrow, Saturday, of either Yachty or Albert pitching. So the Cardinals are smart. They look at this from a business standpoint. They can still do some giveaways for Yachty and Albert this year, and then you'll wait a couple years, and all of a sudden, 5 years from now, you have the fantastic Cardinals Hall of Fame ceremony with Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright. Let's see, Charlie, how you been? Long time no talk from Greg Jansen. Yeah, what's up, buddy? 618, Kurt Warner. Hi, Charlie. How you doing, Kurt? And Kurt's a guy who also texts in on the old text line on Hot Take Central on 590 The Fan. Thank you for that. Nathan Reynolds. I think the real problem is the ground ball pitching mindset. That is an outdated strategy and won't work in the days of no shift. The Cards need some starters who can get strikeouts. That's a great point. Great point. Let's talk about that. So I think a lot of people forget Cardinals were last in baseball in strikeouts last year. They didn't address that. And you look at teams that are really good defensively. The Cardinals are really good defensively, but I also think they were very smart defensively, and they used the shift to their advantage on defense. And you could also, last year we saw, you could, I don't want to say hide, but you could hide Nolan Gorman a little bit more at second base. With the shift, you could cheat over and help him out. Now, I think Nolan Gorman, he's pretty dang athletic, and he's got a good arm. To me, he's just not an everyday big league second baseman. I think you'll see him in there every once in a while, here and there. But overall, I think it's a good point just about if you don't have strikeouts. And think about it. Entering the year, you were hoping that Jack Flaherty would be back to a guy who strikes a lot of people out. And now, I mean, his velocity's good. I don't know how effective he's going to be. He wasn't super effective in spring training. But if Flaherty's not pitching 180 innings and going 6 innings and striking out 6 or 7 batters on average per game, I mean, this starting rotation needs strikeouts. So what did Miles Michaelis have? He had 6 yesterday. But overall, he's not a huge strikeout guy. Let's check the numbers. So yeah, he had 6 strikeouts yesterday. I know I've looked this up in the past. Miles Michaelis, a decent strikeout guy. Throws hard, throws 95 miles an hour, but again, more of a pitch-to-contact type. So in the big leagues, he has 542 strikeouts and 726 in the third career innings. So look at last year. A workhorse, Miles Michaelis, 202 in a third innings pitched, struck out 153 batters. So we're talking about, even I can do that math. That's about what? About 3/4 of a strikeout per innings pitched. Yeah, the Cardinals need dudes that can miss bats. And look, so yesterday's a good indication. If you don't miss bats and you don't strike out guys, you are going to be more susceptible to a game where you have BABIP. You just get BABIP'd, where all of a sudden everything falls in. That's not going to happen That's not going to happen every game, obviously, but if you don't strike dudes out, you have a more likelihood to get dinked and dunked all over the field like they did yesterday. And George Springer just had a freaking lucky horseshoe in his back pocket specifically. That's a really good point, though. Nathan Reynolds, great point. I'm going to read it again. I think the real problem is the ground ball pitching mindset. This is an outdated strategy and won't work in the days of no shift. The Cards need some starters who can get strikeouts. 100% I agree with you. Will the Cardinals be better than last year? Kurt Warner. So last year, what did they win? 93 games? I don't know. I think they'll be right around the same. Like, to me, if you win 93 games last year and this year, let's say you win 91, 92, 93, 94, whatever it is. I mean, unless you're winning 98 games, is it really that big of an increase? And unless you really drop off, unless the Cardinals get to 87, 88 wins, I would look at that as a pretty significant drop-off. If they're anywhere between 90, 94 wins, I would just call it like the same type of season as last year, pretty much the same. I'm not trying to wish away the regular season because I love watching regular season baseball, but we're at a point with the Cardinals. You haven't had a decent playoff run since 2019. You made it to the NLCS, but even that year, you get swept by the Nationals. I don't think anybody looks at 2019 as a team that you really had a legit chance to win the World Series. The last time we thought about the Cardinals like that was probably that 2013, 14, 15 run. 2013, you obviously lose the World Series to the Red Sox. You make it to the NLCS in 14. You lose to the Giants, and then that 2015 team, which lost to the Cubs. Also, that's a 100-win team for the Cardinals. So when you look at 2019, yeah, you made it to the NLCS, but nobody really thought you were super elite. And then you're talking 3 either super quick exits in a wild card or whatever the hell you want to call it, because 2020 was weird. You had the short series, 3-game series against the Padres. You had a 1-game playoff loss, wild card versus the Dodgers. And then you had a 2-game mini sweep again at the hands of the Phillies last year where you faced some aces. So, yeah, we're talking about not a lot of postseason wins for the Cardinals in a long, long time, or at least a lot of games, a lot of playoff games. Let's see. Cardinals need a new stadium is the problem from 618, Kurt Warner. Now, do you mean in terms of how the stadium plays? It needs to be more offensive? Because I think the stadium's pretty dang nice, especially when you added Ballpark Village and now all the residential there. You've built out the stadium. It's pretty cool. You talking about the way it plays in terms of being more pitcher friendly? Because I like Busch Stadium. I'm not saying that it's the greatest stadium in baseball. To me, I'm going to go with, what are they calling San Francisco these days? Is it Oracle Park? Whatever they're calling that. I know it used to be AT&T Park. I love that stadium, and I love PNC Park in Pittsburgh. So if you're talking newer stadiums, those are my 2 favorite. So I'm not saying Busch Stadium is like one of the greatest aesthetically looking stadiums in baseball, but I like it. And then old school, I'm still a fan of the old school stadiums, so it's hard for me to beat Wrigley and Fenway. And I went to old Yankee Stadium, but I have not been to new Yankee Stadium. Let's see. Sam I Am, is our farm system developing any potential aces for the future? Or are we just going to have to go out and buy starting pitching the next few years? I think you're going to have to buy a starting pitcher this offseason. Now, if that's somebody like Aaron Nola, could you trade for Shane Bieber at the trade deadline and get a year and a half of control? I would say if you're looking at the guys in the high levels of the minors, what do you guys think? I mean, if you're looking at McGreevy, Connor Thomas, Gordon Graceffo, is he an ace type guy? I think Tink Hence, probably on paper, Tink Hence is your best chance of being a legit ace. And he's a ways away. Didn't throw a lot of innings last year. I believe he's 20 as well. So he's probably at least, I would say, maybe Tink Hence could make his MLB debut next year at the end. And if he lives up to be what he's supposed to be, could he be in the rotation full-time in 2025? I think that's realistic. What do you guys think? Let's see, Aaron Beck. I know it's early, but is there a list of possible trade deadline pitchers? So I haven't looked at that yet. Again, I'm high on Shane Bieber because of his control a year and a half. And we talked about this in the offseason. I thought he'd be a good trade chip. Also because the Guardians trade guys like that. They have before. They've let guys walk. Trevor Bauer, Corey Kluber. Who am I missing? Cookie Carrasco. They haven't really locked up. Have they locked up any starting pitchers long term in a while? And they just locked up Jimenez and Jose Ramirez. Like, you can't have a ton of long-term contracts if you're the Cleveland Guardians. They just don't do it that way. So I do think there's a good chance Shane Bieber gets traded at the deadline. And then Aaron Nola, maybe he re-signs with the Phillies, but somebody like that. I think Julio Urias is also going to be available on the free agent market. Let's see. David Bowles says a lot of frontline pitchers had off days yesterday. Yeah, and it's one game. Look at the game that we saw. I mean, Miles Michaelis, he's their number one starter, but he was not great, obviously, and also did get dinked and dunked. And then Alek Manoah. Alek Manoah is a stud. You look up his numbers, and he didn't pitch well either. So it's one game. Like I said, let at least a month play out before we start making big conclusions. Dominic says Tink Hence is going to be a stud. I agree. Julio, 8 years, $120 million. Carroll, 8 years, $111 million. Jimenez, 7 years, $106.5 million. When and how much do the Cards pay Walker? That's from Nathan Reynolds. Nathan Reynolds with some good comments and questions here. So it's a great question. I don't think the Cardinals are going to jump in like first year. Some of these deals you're giving these guys, I feel like before they've even played a full season, I think it's kind of odd to me. I think, though, if Walker is as good or close to what we think, he is your face of the franchise player, and I think the Cardinals are going to pay him a lot of money early. They're going to give him something like that Albert Pujols deal, the first one, whatever it was. So, look, to me, the Cardinals, though, they're not going to do it midway through this season. Now, if he plays a season or so, I think if Jordan Walker proves that he's the guy we all think he is, the Cardinals are absolutely going to give him one of those deals, give him some financial security early, buy out all of his control, buy out all of his arbitration years, and then Jordan Walker, you'd think if this relationship is good and he's somebody who wants to stay here long term, he potentially gives the Cardinals a free agent year or two. But also, so the Julio Rodriguez deal, I feel like some of these deals now are crazy where they have all these options anyway. So maybe these guys are getting more money earlier now. I know they are. I'm just trying to figure out exactly how much. So Julio Rodriguez last year, his age 21 season, 28 bombs, 75 RBIs, hit 284, 345 on base, slugged 509, Rookie of the Year, Silver Slugger, All-Star, 7th in the MVP voting for your Seattle Mariners. So let's look at his contract. So his contract is, so look, they basically gave him $6.2 million this year. Dang. So he gets $12 million in 24. He gets $20 million plus in 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029. And then you have these $18 million deals with these $18 million player options. Either, it says, this is Baseball Reference, option may increase or be replaced. So that's a thing where you give him all these options. I mean, he got a ton of money early. He got $20 million a year starting in 2025. So yeah, something like that. I think teams are getting more creative with deals like that. I guess the long story short answer is that I'm not worried about that at all, because if the Cardinals have a stud that they like and a guy who likes being here and doesn't care about, oh, I got to hit free agency. Like, I'm a Boris guy and I 100% am going to hit free agency no matter what. I think they'll figure out a way to keep Jordan Walker here for about 17 years if he's good. If Jordan Walker is really, really good, he might be playing for the Cardinals till he's 40 years old. I truly mean that. I just think he's face of the franchise type player, and they will figure something out if he's good. Let's see. Dominic, I think Hence at least gets a call-up in 2024. Yeah, I think I said that earlier. I think Hence makes his Major League debut in 2024. Maybe cup of coffee, maybe bullpen, maybe spot start, whatever. And then a very good chance he's a member of the rotation full-time in 2025. 618 Kurt Warner, are you still for changing the bullpen name to the Arm Barn? To be fair, I was never for that. I mean, I don't care. I laugh about that. It's funny. Listen, man, with all this stuff where everything has to be changed, like look, I know some of these names are actually insensitive. Like I always said, Washington Redskins, that's insensitive. All right? To me, that's different. Washington Redskins is different even than the Cleveland Indians or the Bradley Braves, where I went. Like to me, I think you can make the argument that the Bradley Braves is not offensive. Now, I think all of these names are going to go away eventually. But some of them also, I think it's the Florida State Seminoles that they have a very good program down there with the Native Americans in terms of like scholarships and honoring the history. So I think it can be done right. But again, it's not apples to apples. Like to me, calling a team the Braves, where you could say, hey, we are honoring the brave spirit of these people, it's a totally different situation than the Redskins, which I think most people agree is a pretty racist term. Something that you would never have nowadays. Like that would never be a name that anybody would ever choose in 2023. But then again, the Washington Commanders I don't think is a good name either. I liked Washington Football Team. I think they should have kept Washington Football Team. Let's see. David Bowles, 2 good years from Walker, and they will talk. Yeah, 100%. Or maybe 1, or maybe like if Walker's really good this year and really good halfway through, yeah, around 2 years. I think that's something I don't worry about. Jordan Walker's going to get paid, and he will be a Cardinal for most of his career if he's good. David Bowles, Arm Barn, how about Arm Buffet? Either way, I don't really like either of them, but they're both kind of funny. Michael W. 1962. It was my first opening day. Pretty special. Wayno did well. Yeah, and I started the show with that. Wayno, what do you guys think of the national anthem? Cool surprise. I thought he was good. Not great, but let's be honest. He's not a professional. I didn't think he embarrassed himself at all. Earlier on our radio show, some people were complaining about the O Canada. I thought it was awesome. That Abigail Stahlschmidt, who's a St. Louis gal, she's a model, she's a professional musician, whatever that is, the violin. I've seen her play like super fast rock music. She's really talented. I thought she was good. So people were saying, oh, she was kind of getting creative and going off script and ad-libbing. And I'm like, well, that's cool. Plus, you don't really hear O Canada very much for baseball. I know hockey people hear it all the time, but I thought it was really, really well done. I thought she was great. But sometimes people just complain too much. I think we all complain too much. But, yeah, opening day. What do you think? Let's wrap this thing up. We're about 66 minutes in. I've gotten to all of the comments. We got 56 people watching right now. I appreciate all of y'all. Thank you. Please comment, like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Did I cover everything? I feel like we talked about the bad luck, especially with Hicks. Miles Michaelis got dinked and dunked a little bit, but also some hard contact early. We're all high on the Cardinals lineup. I think we're all high on the Toronto Blue Jays lineup. It's one game, but still we're concerned about the starting rotation, as we should be, because we were before the season even started. We know the Blue Jays are good. We know the Blue Jays can mash. Miles Michaelis, we'll see. He had a weird spring training with the World Baseball Classic. Didn't really pitch regularly there. Had a weird kind of end to his spring. And the biggest story, though, the biggest question mark, is Wilson Contreras and his contusion. We're happy that the x-rays were negative, but also could he be out for a couple games, week or so? We shall see. And we all know that the drop-off at that position to Andrew Kisner, and then even in the minor leagues, because Ivan Herrera didn't exactly he's not pushing Kisner either. That's the thing. I think with both these guys, I'm not writing off Kisner or Herrera, but right now neither of them are pushing to stay in the big leagues or get to the big leagues. So you wonder, is that a situation where you try to find another team that has like a better backup catcher, like a proven veteran big league catcher? Now that maybe your catcher's going to play a little more. For years, the backup catcher never played behind Yadier Molina. But now if you say, look, we only want to play Wilson Contreras 110 games at catcher, we're going to DH him 20, 25 games. So now the backup catcher for the Cardinals could get, let's say, 55 games behind the plate. We shall see. Let's see. Sam I am. Watching live, I said, why didn't he take the hat off? And then I realized, because he was singing. Yep, I noticed that as well when I saw on the broadcast. I was out in the stands amongst the folks when he sang, though. That was pretty awesome. David Bowles, you went to Bradley? That's my backyard. Go Peoria Chiefs. Going to attend some games there this year. Yes, I'm a proud 2004 graduate of the Bradley University. So Bradley basketball, went to a lot of games. Peoria Chiefs, went to a lot of games back in the day. The old Thirsty Thursday. What was that? $2 beers. Maybe it's $1 beer. Now it's probably inflation. Now it's probably $3, even on a Thirsty Thursday. Will the live be posted? Yeah. I'll post this. I'll probably just I think you can just go right back and click on it, actually. And I might cut it up and do some more little segments. But I think we're good, man, because we're almost at 70 minutes. We're at 69 minutes. So let's wrap it up. I got all your comments. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Check in on the channel all season long. We're going to do a ton of Cardinals content as we have. But I'm going to do a live stream at least once a week, maybe a couple times a week. And hell, if you guys watch, I think the key for the live streams is, Sam I Am says 69, nice. The key for me is the live streams of how many people watch after the fact. Because if that can be as valuable as just posting a video, then it makes sense for me to do a ton of live streams, and you guys can watch live, obviously, and then the other folks can watch after the fact. So I got to see how the views go on YouTube to determine how many live streams I'm going to do. But after big games, and especially if I really watch the entire game, I'm not going to lie to you, there are days with a couple kids I can't watch totally, but if there's a game where I'm able to watch the whole thing and really break it down with you guys, I'm going to do that a lot this year. All right, I'll shut up. We'll end on 70 minutes. Thank you for watching. Comment, please, like, subscribe. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for all the views and subscriptions over the years and all that. And hey, if you're a NASCAR fan, check out the Kenny Wallace YouTube channel. That thing's really growing. I mean, it's growing really well. It's pushing 60,000 subscribers, so that thing's growing really well. And I actually spend more time on that channel than I do this channel. But it's Cardinals baseball season, so we're going to be back doing a ton of content here as well. Sam I Am says, peace. I will say the same. Peace, y'all. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.